is episode 6 of the first series of the Build Your Author Brand podcast. First of all, I want to say a huge thank you if you've been listening or watching over on YouTube to this first 6-part series. So my aim with this was to put together 6 short episodes to take you through, as an author, the first crucial steps to understanding what we mean by building your author brand and beginning to create your own unique author brand, and to understand what it takes to grow your audience, to reach the right potential readers, those who are going to invest in you as an author, fall in love with your work, and then keep reading every book that you publish, regardless of genres. As we know, authors who write in multiple genres still often have readers who become great fans and stay with them through their journey. If you think about authors that you love, authors who may well have written in multiple genres, as many authors do, you might reflect on the fact that you still seek out their work. If you love an author, the chances are you're going to want to read all of their books. So to create this kind of fan base where we have readers who are attached to you and your work, they're behaving like fans, they're seeking you out, they're seeking out your books, they're even following you when you are switching genres. To create that kind of loyalty with a fan base requires a few things. And some of those things, I hope that if you've been listening to all the episodes of this first series, those are starting to take shape for you. They're starting to become clear for you. So we've got the author brand story right at the beginning, understanding what to say about yourself as an author and what makes you unique, which incorporates your unique values, what's important to you, what motivates you in your writing. Why do you write what you write? Why are you writing what you're writing, not somebody else, not some other author? What are the passions and motivations that lead you to discussing and writing about the themes that you explore in your work? We then want to get really clear on who is our ideal reader. And when I speak to groups of authors for the first time, often people say to me, but I just want everyone to read my book. I want as many people as possible to read my book. No book is ever going to be for everyone. We have to be really clear on that. And especially if you're writing in a genre, whether that's fiction, whether that's non-fiction, your book is going to have a niche audience. By niche, we mean ideal readers. So we're not applying to everybody. We're seeking the ideal reader. So once we've established who we think that ideal reader is, or we've narrowed it down, we've done some research on our reader. The key to that is asking people what they read and whether they would read your book, and asking readers what they thought of your book. And reviews obviously help to put together that picture of your ideal reader. So once we have done that, then we can really start to think about where are they hanging out. And by that, yes, we can incorporate social media into that. But increasingly, if you're following this, you're following the podcast, you're following my programs, what I would love you to take on board is that social media and content marketing is not the whole story. And I know there are many fantastic authors out there who are using ads, they're experts on categories and algorithms and all of those things that, yes, you're going to be using as a successful author. But what I want you to take away is that it's so important to understand that there are many ways that we can quickly or more quickly build our readerships that don't involve being on social media, that don't involve content marketing. Some of those key ways are or can be the big needle moving activities that are possible for you as an author, even if you are unknown, even if you're a debut. This is all about looking for the story that you're going to tell. What is the story that you're going to tell to approach those places where you know you're going to reach your ideal reader, that reader in your niche? So, for example, whether you could be doing sci-fi or fantasy, where are those ideal readers hanging out? They could be hanging out in online forums. They could be reading sci-fi and fantasy magazines or comics, or you could be writing in a romance category. Once you've decided what age group you're writing for, what demographic your ideal reader is, then you can start to think about, well, what media are they consuming? Are they listening to the radio? Are they watching TV? Are they reading newspapers and magazines? Are they reading online articles? Are they listening to podcasts? So I've touched on these things throughout this podcast series, but I want you to go away and have a think about, where is your ideal reader hanging out? And one thing you can start to do is research that. Research, make a list of all the different kinds of media that you could possibly explore in order to locate your ideal reader. We can also look at in-person events. We can look at festivals, conferences. As the self-publishing world grows, year on year, we're getting more and more opportunities for PR or publicity, for authors to take control of their own publicity opportunities, research, seek out, find the right opportunities, and then pitch yourself. Now, pitching is something that I work on with the authors who come and work with me, either in my programs or in one-to-one, or some of the other ways that I offer services to authors. We look at pitching. Once you got to grips with your story and what you're going to share, if you've located a media outlet, you've identified that you want to pitch to a podcast or a radio show, or you want to pitch to write an article for a magazine, learning how to position yourself and pitch yourself is absolutely key to this. So knowing what to say about yourself, your author brand story, and then knowing what is the relevant, timely, and compelling story that you're going to share with the media outlets that you've identified. What we need to remember about any publicity or PR that you're working towards as an author is ensuring that it's doing a job for you. You want to get really clear on what do you want your PR or publicity to achieve for you before you're going ahead and pitching. So, as I said, whatever media that is. So we're not talking about social media in this. We're talking about the traditional media outlets, online media, new media. So in that, we'd include podcasts, we'd include blogs. We could even include other people's newsletters. Any kind of affiliate or third party marketing and PR you can do is very, very effective. So effectively, if you're borrowing somebody else's audience, this can be a huge needle moving activity for you to reach a new audience very quickly. To do that, your messaging is crucial. Knowing what you're positioning, what you're pitching, what you want to say about yourself and your work, and why you're speaking to that particular audience. All of these things are crucial in terms of pitching. And remembering that useful publicity is when the audience or reader, viewer has something to take away with them. What are the things they're going to remember? Now, one of the things you really want them to remember is that you've written your book or books. So always making sure that whatever it is you're doing, whether it's writing an article, whether it's giving an interview, that you are always mentioning your book or books, making sure that the reader or audience or viewer knows. That's the key takeaway for them, that you are an author, these are your books. Ideally, you want them to want to find out more and look you up. Every piece of PR or publicity needs to have an intention or a purpose behind it. So being really clear on what you want to gain from the what we call coverage is essential. And you want to be, as much as possible, in control of that coverage. So knowing why you're doing a particular piece of publicity or PR, what messages you want to get across, and what you want to achieve from that activity. Authors sometimes ask me, what is the difference between good or bad publicity? I tend to talk in terms of useful or not useful publicity. Not useful being publicity that isn't taking the audience, viewer, or reader directly to what it is you are trying to sell to them, or market to them, or promote to them. So, not bringing the topic, the themes that you're talking about back to directly the thing that you want them to remember, which is your books. So, that would be any publicity that isn't giving you that is not going to be useful. So, at best, it's going to be a bit of a waste of time for you. At worst, it could give people the wrong message. Then they're not getting the message that you want them to get. So, good publicity is where you feel that you've got everything you wanted to say, that you wanted to get across to the reader, viewer, listener. You want to get that across to them. They remember who you are, what you're doing. They then want to go and look you up further, find out more about your books. So, that's the best possible outcome for your publicity. And of course, the power of that publicity is that it can reach much, much bigger audiences very quickly. It only takes being a guest on one podcast to have you suddenly on the radar of hundreds, potentially thousands more ideal readers. It only takes one article in a well-read, high circulation magazine for you to immediately reach potentially thousands more ideal readers than you were reaching the day before. So these things are the big needle movers. You can do way more with any one piece of media coverage than you can with years of social media in some cases. So planning PR and publicity around your author promotion is key. Learning how to pitch yourself as an author, what to say about yourself, is really key. Understanding what makes you unique as an author and why your ideal reader is interested in you and your work is going to be the foundations for your strategy, for your PR, publicity, promotion, marketing going forward. So if you can do those things, it's going to raise your level of what's possible for you in terms of your profile, in terms of reaching more readers, in terms of growing an audience, creating that loyal fan base that is going to follow you, read your books for years to come. None of these things happen overnight. The overnight success myth is exactly that. It is a myth. But these things are possible over time. Building up that audience, building up that readership, building up that loyal fan base is possible if you keep consistent, you keep persistent, you keep at it over time. In my next podcast series, in series 2, I'm going to be speaking to some authors themselves, some authors who have worked with me, some authors who are quite far ahead in their journeys, who've achieved some success already, and you'll hear from authors who are perhaps at the beginning with new series and new books. I'll be exploring fiction and non-fiction authors and their journeys and what has been working for them in terms of their marketing, their PR, their publicity, what things they've tried, what things they would recommend, and really delving into some real life stories of authors who are on this journey with you. So I do hope that you will be able to tune in for the next series, which will be coming in just a few weeks' time. So I thank you so much for listening to this first series. I've received some really fantastic comments and feedback from authors who have been listening and following this podcast journey with me. And I massively appreciate your support. I love hearing your feedback and your questions. Don't be shy to get in touch with me on social media. I'm across all the main social media channels. Please ask me questions. Please get in touch. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know what your goals are and what you've been doing so far to achieve them. So I hope to speak to you all again soon. Thank you for listening.